Hello, YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Magic Metal Mondays. We are finally getting back into the metal world here today. We are going to be talking about Florida's own Savatage, one of the most underrated metal bands ever. So, yeah, and this is also the first video of mine to do. When I am now 16 years old, I turned 16 yesterday, so there you go. If you all want to leave me a birthday comment or something like that, please do down in the comment section below. So with that said, we got 11 studio albums plus an EP. We got 12 albums from Savatage to rank. So let's freaking jump into it. Number 12 is Dead Winter Dead from 1995. This is really the first album where the band really decided to go in with the symphonic metal type of stuff. This is my first symphonic metal album of all time. It's a good album from start to finish, but compared to everything else that Savatage did throughout their career, this one's kind of weak sauce. But there are some really great tracks on here. Sarajevo is an amazing track. I Am. Oh man, I really love that line from Joan Oliva. Just amazing. That all I really need right now is you. That part. I love that part. Starlight is a great song. Mozart Madness is my favorite instrumental on here. And the title track, Dead Winter Dead, I absolutely love it. But this, like I said, this album compared to everything else by Savatage, this record is the one I will go to the least. So with that said, Dead Winter Dead from 1995 coming here at number 12. Number 11, Fight for the Rock from 1986. Now, yeah, I know a lot of Savatage fans would put this album dead last in their rankings, but I don't. And that's mainly because this album is really way more enjoyable to me compared to Dead Winter Dead. Now, I know that John Oliva wrote like these pop songs for other artists and bands alike on their label to record and release, but the label actually made Savatage release those songs by Savatage, and it kinda was a major setback to everything they were developing with their previous two records plus their EP. But regardless, there are some really great tracks on here. Fight for the Rock, Crying for Love, Hide, and Red Light Paradise are my favorites from this record. Although the covers on here, Day After Day and Wishing Well, I like them. I need to hear the original versions, of course, first. But, you know, they're fine. And, of course, the re-recording of Out on the Streets, which was originally a single from their first album, I really enjoy it, to be precise with y'all. But overall, this record is kind of like with Dead Winter Dead. Savatage just released way better albums than this. But it's a good album nonetheless, because, you know, Savatage never put out a freaking bad album, in my opinion. So, that said, number 11 goes to Fight for the Rock from 1986. Number 10 is Sirens from 1983, the Savatage debut album. Now, I know this is a very controversial pick, because I know a lot of Savatage fans adore this record, and I can understand why. There are some really great tracks on here. Sirens, Holocaust, I Believe, the first three songs on this record, are freaking kick butt. Now, Twisted Little Sister, in my opinion, is a little bit of a below-average song. I consider it to be the weakest song on the record, but it's still pretty good. And Living Through the Night, I believe that's the name of the song. I could be wrong. That's a great track, too. Screaming Murder is a freaking amazing track. On the Run is great. Rage is great. There's a lot of phenomenal songs on this record, and this is basically a very, very raw Savatage record. But like the flack I usually give on debut albums, it kind of applies here, because compared to everything else Savatage did in their career, it doesn't really sound like this record. Now, this is one of my favorite debut albums of all time. even though it is quite low on my list. But like I said, Savatage never put out a freaking bad album. So, with that said, Sirens from 1983 coming in here at number 10. Number 9, Poets and Madmen from 2001, their final album. And this is a freaking amazing way to go out. Now, this features Chris Caffrey on guitar. He was with Savatage on their previous 2 records with another guitarist, Al Petrilli, who does an amazing job, don't get me wrong, replacing both Chris Oliva and Testament guitar player Alex Skolnick. But yeah, this record is, just from top to bottom, pretty freaking good. I'd say they went out on a high note. Stay With Me a While, Commissar, I Seek Power, Morphine Child, Surrender, and of course, Back to a Reason. All those are my favorite songs from this record, and it's one of my top 5 albums from 2001, so I might make a separate video on that, who knows. So with that said, Poets and Madmen coming in here at number 9. Number 8 is Streets, a rock opera from 1991. Now, this is by far the longest Savatage album with 16 tracks, and it's almost an hour and 20 minutes long. So, yeah, the length of this album might be a little bit over the top, but still, this album is amazing. There's not a bad song on this album. And a lot of Savatage fans kind of view this album as a concept album. I can see why. Streets is a really great track. Jesus Saves is my favorite song on the record. Strange Reality is great. The beautiful ballads of A Little Too Far and If I Go Away are just amazing. And of course, Believe as well. And then the 2 heaviest tracks on the album, Can You Hear Me Now and Ghost in the Ruins. I love these 2 songs. And this is also the final album to feature my favorite lineup of Savatage, with John Oliva on vocals and piano, Chris Oliva on the guitars, Johnny Lee Middleton on bass, and Steve Wachholtz on the drums. But I'd say this album went out with a real bang here. I love this record. And this is really the first album where Savatage really went full in with the musical elements to mix in with their thrash metal sound. And I like that mix. Now, they kind of flirted with it a little bit on the previous album, Gutter Ballet. But on here, they went full out musical thrash metal. And I love it. I freaking love it. So with that said, Streets, a rock opera from 1991, coming in here at number 8. Now, number 7, we got the Dungeons Are Calling EP from 1984. Now, this surrounded their first 2 albums of Sirens and Power of the Night. And this album only has 6 songs, but I absolutely love this EP. And it's by far my favorite EP of all time. There's not a terrible song on this record. You got the amazing title track, By the Grace of the Witch, Visions, and City Beneath the Surface are all my favorite songs on this record. By the Grace of the Witch is actually my favorite song from this album, so there you go. And yeah, I absolutely love this record. What more can I say? And I see why a lot of Savatage fans put it up very high on their rankings. So with that said, the Dungeons Are Calling, the EP from 1984, coming in here at number 7. Number 6, The Wake of Magellan from 1997, their second to last album. Woo, man, this record is amazing. This is the final album to feature Zachary Stevens on vocals, and this is also the final album to feature guitarist Al Petrilli. What a freaking way to go out. I love this record. Like with all the other albums, there is not a bad song on this album. And of its own self, this album is pretty much a masterpiece. Basically from this album onwards are all albums I strongly consider to be masterpieces. So with that said, The Wake of Magellan has amazing tracks. Welcome, Turns to Me, The Wake of Magellan, Anymore, and The Hourglass, all songs that were sang by Zachary Stevens. And I say that because John Oliva, the keyboard player on this record, He actually makes his return as a singer on 2 of the songs on this record, which are Another Way and Paragons of Innocence. And again, those 2 are amazing songs, and I consider them to be standout tracks from this record. So with that said, The Wake of Magellan from 1997 coming in here at number 6. Number 5, Handful of Rain from 1994. This is probably my most controversial pick on this video. But still, this record is amazing from top to bottom. Now, this is the only album to feature Alex Skolnick on the guitar, and if you know the band Testament, then you pretty much know Alex Skolnick because he came from Testament, who's another great thrash metal band, by the way. I might make another video on that. Who knows? And this is really the album where you see John Oliva's talent in full swing. He plays every instrument but except lead vocalist and lead guitars on this record. He plays bass, he plays drums, he plays keyboard, and he even sings a little bit on this record. Not a lot, not like what Zachary Stevens does, but you know, he does sing from time to time on this album. And this is really the album where Oliva's talented side is really exposed. And if I said it once, I'll say it again. I love this album. Taunting Cobras, title track, Watching You Fall, and Alone You Breathe. All standout tracks, but my favorite song on this album is Castles Burning. Oh my god, that song is so heavy, and Zachary Stevens sounds absolutely amazing on that song. I can't say enough about Handful of Rain other than I love this record, and I strongly think it's an underrated masterpiece. So with that said, Handful of Rain from 1994 coming in here at number 5. Number 4, Gutter Ballet from 1989. Now, a lot of people, a lot of Savatage fans for that matter, would highly consider this to be their best album, and I definitely see why. This is really the first album where they kind of flirted with the musical elements, like what you would see like on Broadway and theater and theatrical productions, things like that. And it's basically like a foreshadowing of their next album, Streets. Because as I said when I was talking about Streets, this the album Gutter Ballet was basically the album where they really flirted with the theatrical musical sound, and then on their next album, Streets, a rock opera, they went full in on it and created an amazing album. Now, Gutter Ballet, in of its own self, is amazing. You have On a Rage of War, the title track, When the Crowds Are Gone, a beautiful power ballad, Hounds, The Unholy, Summer's Rain, Thorazine Shuffle, the list just goes on. This is a solid album from beginning to end, and I absolutely love this album. It also has my favorite lineup of Savatage with the Oliva brothers, John and Chris, Johnny Lee Middleton, and Steve Wachholtz. Yeah. So with that said, Gutter Ballet from 1989 coming in here at number 4. Number 3, Power of the Night from 1985. Savatage's second studio release, LP for that matter. And this album is freaking amazing. I mean, from top to bottom, the first 3 songs on here, the title track, Unusual, Warriors, phenomenal songs. Heart for Love is another great song, and In the Dream is just a beautiful, I think this is the closure on here, I could be wrong, but regardless, it's an amazing song nonetheless. This album is awesome. I can't say anything bad about this record. Now, this is the final album to feature the classic lineup of Savatage with the Oliva brothers, John and Chris, on vocals, keyboards, and guitar, respectively. John on vocals, keyboards, and Chris on guitars. Keith Thumper Collins on bass, and Steve Wachholtz on the drums. So, yeah. Power of the Night from 1985 coming in here at number 3. So, let's move on to number 2 and number 1. Number 2, the 1993 album, Edge of Thorns. I love this record. If you really want to talk about masterpieces, here you go. Now, this is the first record to feature Zachary Stevens on vocals, and the final record to feature Chris Oliva before his tragic car accident. And this is really the final album with this is really the final classic-ish Savatage record, because the next album, Handful of Rain, is just, like a step down for a lot of Savatage fans, but not for me. So this record, from top to bottom, is amazing. It basically takes everything that they did from the previous 2 records. This is basically like a carbon copy of Gutter Ballet, ish. It does kind of flirt with the musical elements, but not as much as the previous album, Streets, did. Now, and it's not as raw as Gutter Ballet, so there's a big difference right there. And Zachary Stevens, in my opinion, is a lot more of a melodic singer compared to John Oliva. Because Oliva was basically this screecher reaper, if you will. And Stevens was this very Michael Kiske-like type of singer-ish. So the standout tracks on here, you got the title track, the groovy songs that are Lights Out and Damien. He Carves a Stone is a great song. Follow Me is a phenomenal track. And the 2 ballads that close off this record, Miles Away and Sleep. Love those 2 songs. Excuse me. So, with that said, Edge of Thorns from 1993 coming in here at number 2. Number 1, Process of Elimination. If you're a Savatage fan, you know what number 1 is. The 1987 album, Hall of the Mountain King. What a freaking phenomenal album this is. This is a near perfect record. I loved every single moment on this record. There's not a bad song on this album. My favorite lineup of Savatage is in full swing here. John Oliva, Chris Oliva, Johnny Lee Middleton, and Steve Wacholtz as well. Standout tracks, 24 Hours Ago, Legions, Strange Wings, Hall of the Mountain King, and Devastation. Love all of those songs. It's got my favorite Savatage album cover. By the way, all the album cover art that Savatage has on all their albums is just freaking amazing. Round of applause to their album cover artist, designer, whoever. So this record is top to bottom amazing. It's one of my top 20 favorite metal albums of all time. Not quite cracking my top 10, but it's very freaking close. I love this record. It's a freaking masterpiece and the best album from Savatage. So with that said, Hall of the Mountain King from 1987 takes the number 1 spot. And with that all being said, that concludes my Savatage album rankings. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.